This move by Justin Trudeau could be the most devastating yet. A home equity tax that targets the value of your property.
We've taken those last 10, 20 years of massive increase in value of homes as sort of a new normal.
Now, this won't just be another tax. It's a direct assault on your life savings, your future, and your hopes and dreams of retiring with dignity. So what does this mean for you? Well, higher taxes, lower equity, and the risk of losing everything you've ever worked for. See, when you sell an investment property, you're taxed on the profits. Now, this makes sense, and this is called a capital gain. And Trudeau, while we're on the topic, just increased the capital gains rate from 50% to 66%. So let's say you've owned a second property, a rental property, for the past 7 years. You had great tenants in there, you renovated the property nice, it's a nice place for a nice family to live, you did what you were supposed to do by investing wisely in real estate. And when you sold it in year 7, let's say you made a profit of $200,000. So 66% of the $200,000 profit is susceptible to your tax rate. So $132,000 is going to be taxable income on your taxes. So let's say you make $100,000 at your job throughout the year. You're an electrician, you own your own business, you work for an engineering firm, a good quality, nice job. You make $100,000 there, and you just made $132,000 on this rental property you just sold. Well, just like that, you're immediately up into the highest tax bracket. You made it to the top, baby. Welcome to the 54% tax rate. You made it. So of that $232,000, you're gonna pay approximately $104,400 in taxes, depending on what province you live in. So you did all that work for the whole year. You held this rental property for 7 years. You did what you're supposed to do. You made $232,000, and you're giving $104,000 to Trudeau. Was it really worth it? But here's the thing, you don't care. I know you don't. You're probably thinking, fuck that landlord. Good, he's paying all those taxes. The rich should pay their fair share. I don't really care. Well, if you own your own home, which the majority of Canadians do, you should care. Because not only are our taxes way too high in Canada, which I'll get to in a bit in this video, Trudeau promised he would never touch the equity in your primary residence, your personal home. It would never be taxed. He's not touching it. Well, now there's rumblings, there's leaks in the cabinet, there's articles coming out from speaking to people in his cabinet. He's thinking about it, and he's been thinking about it for the past 2 years. We can see articles going back to 2022, 2021 of these things coming up, of people talking about it. And his latest interview just keeps moving the goalposts closer and closer for him actually doing it.
There are lots of cities around the world where people just accept that they're going to rent their entire lives, but they're not feeling they're going to be impoverished in retirement. Well, other people who rent in Canada feel like they have a big piece of a nest egg that's simply not there because they've been renters all their lives. There's a challenge there that I think there are elements of policy solutions, but the big thing is we just have to slow down on the speculation, right? I mean, like housing prices and value should increase over a lifetime, but you shouldn't be able to flip a home 8 years later and have it double the price, right? I mean, there's something unsustainable, and it moves housing into an investment vehicle rather than a vehicle for supporting a family and building a community around it. And as soon as it's an investment vehicle, you have people who have money using it as a way of generating more, as opposed to saying, okay, everyone should have an opportunity to.
See, this is what politicians do, and especially Liberal, and especially Trudeau. He's done this his entire career. Look, I'm a politics nerd, and more so, I'm an economics nerd because I'm a real estate investor. I'm an entrepreneur. I follow economics, the stock market, what's happening in bonds and treasuries. Dude, I follow everything because that's my job. I've been following Trudeau and politicians for a long time, and this is what they do. It's basically like split testing. They like to throw out ideas, drop something in an interview, and they gauge, the public's response, the population's response, and then they decide to act on it or not. And the Liberal government as a whole is damn good at this. I'm not a fan of the Liberal government in Canada and how they run the economy, more so on a fiscal policy basis, but they are damn good, way better than the conservative government at split testing. They're so good at it. They've been doing it for decades.
What building back better looks like, how we can create good jobs and growth, protect the environment, and support the most vulnerable around the country that we've seen have been particularly hard hit by the pandemic.
Let me just say something in an interview, and then if the papers freak out or the population freaks out, okay, they're not ready for that one yet. Let's wait a year or two before I drop that again in an interview. They're geniuses at it. But what would happen to the housing market if Trudeau did pass a policy of taxing the gains made on your primary residence sale? Well, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to lower housing prices in Canada. Now, I know what you're thinking. If you're not a homeowner yet, you're a renter, you're a millennial, Gen Z, you're like, good. It's not good. Because what it means is, even if you don't own a home, you're probably going to think, well, why do I even want to buy a home if I'm just going to get taxed on it? I mean, I'll just keep renting, and just doing my thing. It's going to lower demand immensely to buy a home, which obviously, if there's low demand, economics 101, eventually the prices will fall. People are going to start selling their properties, dumping them, as life goes on, when the kids get older, when a job change. People always have to sell all the time, but people normally always have to buy. But if this law comes in, a lot of people are going to go, why would I even buy a house? They're expensive. It is a liability on a fiscal basis. It's not really an investment. It can be over years and years. Obviously, with inflation, prices of houses go up. You make a lot of money, but it also costs a lot of money, way more than renting, to upkeep the house, make sure the grass is always cut and it looks nice, the furnace goes, leaks happen in your kitchen sink. Like, there's always repairs to be made. In the long run, it's not really the smartest investment as a whole. But Canadians, we know, we're obsessed with buying a house because it friggin' goes up like 300% every 10 years in value. So, it is a good investment that way, but this would make it not a good investment for anyone. And by the way, this is coming from a guy who's a real estate investor. This is what I do. I've bought and sold over 150 properties. I fucking love real estate. I think it's the best investment, but this shit would make it not so good. For anybody, for renters or current homeowners or wannabe homeowners, this is bad. Now, what's also going to happen is it's going to put increased financial strain on current already homeowners. Now, they were promised this dream of, if you own your home in Canada, you're going to make a ton of money if you hold it for 10, 20, 30 years. Obviously, look at the boomer generation. They're just fucking living it up right now, from buying houses for $50,000 in 1982. And now they're fucking worth $1 million. That was a great investment, Uncle Ron. But people bought those houses with the dreams of, that's my retirement. See, most Canadians don't trust their pension or Social Security when they retire, old age pension. They don't care about that. That's just a cherry on top. The real retirement plan for every homeowner in Canada is this: the home they live in. When they sell it, when they're 65, 68 years old, and they want to downsize to a nice condo and maybe live in Florida for half the year, that's all being made possible by the home equity, the promise of home ownership. And if you tax that now, it's kind of a conspiracy. Think about it. The boomer generation is the biggest generation, the most amount of people. And what are they doing in the next, 5 years? They're all retiring. It's time to downsize. They're going to start dying. Let's just be real. They're going to start dying, retiring, selling off their house. And right at the very time when this giant generation of homeowners, big percentage of boomers own their home. It's got to be well over 70, 80% of boomers own their own home. Right at the time when it comes time to sell, you're going to implement this new tax and collect all that revenue because you overspent, mismanaged the budget. Canada is in extreme debt and someone's got to pay for it. It's either going to be now or next generations. It's definitely going to be both. But Trudeau needs the money now. So how's he going to get it? Well, fucking good timing, buddy. It's not good timing. It's kind of a conspiracy. It's too good to be true. It's like a movie. It's perfect timing. He knew this all along. Now, what's also going to happen is there's going to be a reduction in housing supply. We're already at enormous low levels of housing supply. Nobody's building. We haven't been building since really 1974. Like that whole boom, the boomers, right? The boomer generation, right? At that 70s boom, after that, we haven't really been building homes to meet the population growth, especially what we're doing the past couple of years, bringing over all these immigrants, which is fine. It's great for our economy. but it's not great for the housing market. We have low supply. So this tax, if implemented, sellers aren't ever going to sell. They don't want to pay that tax. Because now maybe if they did want to sell because they want to upgrade or they want to move to the next city over or the next province over, well, now they're going to say, well, now we're not moving because I can't afford to pay those taxes. Like, I'm not going to be left with anything. And then what? I got to buy another house with the diminished, gain that I thought I was going to get. Okay, well, I'm just going to stay here in Kitchener-Waterloo until the day I die. I'm not selling this fucking house because where am I going to go? So lower housing supply even more. The economic ripple effect from this, the unintended consequence is people are going to be building less homes, that's for sure, because it's not going to be seen as an investment really anymore. That means contractors aren't going to work as much, real estate agents, lawyers. Every ripple effect that the real estate industry touches is going to go down. Cabinet making shops, wood shops, furniture. Dude, real estate, you don't understand. Real estate is a massive ripple effect. It's the biggest part of our economy in Canada and America. There's no secret that in the CPI reading, what I'm always talking about, the majority of inflation in Canada and America is the housing sector. The housing sector makes up 60% of the CPI. So when you're hearing things about on the news about inflation with high gas, high food prices, clothing going up, yeah, that doesn't fucking matter. Minuscule part of inflation and minuscule part of the economy. Real estate touches almost every sector. Dude, the ripple effect is gigantic for construction. The guy at the lumber yard who cuts the 2x4s and pressure treats the wood, like all those jobs. Real estate. Now, obviously, last but not least, the political backlash is going to be insane. Why would a prime minister do this? Home ownership in Canada is like a prized possession. Every Canadian wants to own a home. And when you're already at low 20% in the polls, the worst the Liberal government has ever been in the past 40 years, the most unpopular prime minister at this point, I think ever in Canadian history, now you want to implement a tax that comes after people's... Are you just asking to be shot and murdered and voted out? What's wrong with you? But I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing. Good. Pass a law. Get this motherfucker out. Get Pierre in there or somebody else with a level head. It doesn't have to be from the Conservative government. Get somebody else in there to win the election and just reverse that tax policy. It's going to happen. I mean, even if Trudeau does implement that clause today, the first thing Pierre is going to do when he wins, and he's going to smash him. If he does put that policy in, he's just going to reverse it. Or will he? That's the end of the video. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments.